tonight on Focal Point.
The boxes that have been placed around Belfast are in response to the continuing existence of homelessness in Belfast.
I think it's a fantastic idea, and I think there should be a lot more actually dotted around the place. I mean, they're homeless through no fault of their own at times.
We really don't think it's a good idea, no? Because it's cold, you know. Yeah. They should have something like shelter, I can say.
Fathers account for 50% of parents, so therefore so policy should now reflect that. So in the short term, I think the attitudinal change is what we need, and the longer term, I think the policy change to support fathers.
It all comes down to the best interests of the child at the end of the day.
Tá sé iontach tábhachtach an seo in áit costal le Belfast go bhfuil stáisiún pobl is cum a céantanga ina bhfuil siad ach tugann sé deis go daoine nach bhfuil deis acu i gúnaí tugann sé ardán go grúpaí nach bhfuil ardán acu in áit féile.
DSD have proposed to cut the services in the Upper Springfield area by approximately 40%. It would have such a devastating effect in terms of mental health and well-being, in terms of disability, in terms of a wide range of issues that people are facing.
That would be heartbreaking, especially for all them old people that haven't got anybody in the house for them. They'll just be sitting looking out through the window.
Homelessness does exist. It exists everywhere, but in Belfast in particular. I work particularly alongside families, but the Salvation Army as an organisation provide accommodation and support to families and single men who are homeless here in Belfast.
The key thing to understand about homelessness is that quite often people think about those that are found directly sleeping on the streets, but actually that's a tiny proportion of the total number of people that are actually affected by homelessness. We know over 18,000 people presented themselves to the Northern Ireland Housing Executive last year as suffering from a homelessness problem. We also know at the Simon community in Northern Ireland that we had over 33,000 phone calls to our helpline number last year, so you can see straight away that it's quite a far-reaching problem. The other thing I'd like to say is that it's very much about hidden homelessness, that we have people who come to us who have been sleeping on sofas, they may have been staying with friends, they may even have been sleeping in the back of their car. So it's not always about the homeless that you can see, it's about the hidden homelessness.
It's not just an individual is homeless, it could be any person. It could be a young person, it could be an elderly person, it could be a family, and a variety of reasons why anybody could find themselves in that unfortunate position. They would range from marital breakdown, family breakdown, maybe problems with mortgages, domestic violence, intimidation, and the list goes on. We have people come to the Housing Executive in many different circumstances. Our job is to help them, to support them and try and get them back on the right road again and find them a permanent housing solution.
We have found at the Simon community in Northern Ireland that the number one problem around homelessness is relationship breakdown, family breakdown, and quite often people have had to move out of the family home due to a breakdown in relationships. So that would be number one. But we would also have people who come to us with a whole varied range of issues. So it could be around substance abuse, it could be around debt, it could be around simply having a run of really bad luck where they've suffered from mortgage defaults because they've been made redundant. So it could be a whole myriad of issues, but what we have found at the Simon community is it's never just one issue. There's usually a number of background factors.
The boxes that have been placed around Belfast are in response to the continuing existence of homelessness in Belfast. Whether the actual provision of boxes is going to help people on a long-term basis, I very much doubt, but it is in response to people. It is an alternative than sleeping in the street. The Salvation Army do run the night shelter in Belfast and try and reach out to as many rough sleepers as possible, and I would say that the future for the Salvation Army will definitely be to continue to provide that support and maybe be creative and look upon ways that we can build upon our current provision, but obviously that needs to be in conjunction with funders.
What would your opinion be on this pod for the homeless people?
I think it's a great idea. There should probably be more of them about. I know there was talks of one being up and things getting moved and stuff, but I think, you know, the more you can do to help them, what's wrong with that?
Do you think it's a good idea for the homeless people?
I really don't think it's a good idea.
No.
Because it's cold, you know.
Yeah.
They should have something like shelter, I can say.
I think it's a fantastic idea, and I think there should be a lot more actually dotted around the place. I mean, they're homeless through no fault of their own at times, and I mean, especially with the cold nights there, too dangerous to let them lie out in the street. So I think it's a great idea, and they're aesthetically pleasing to the eye, so I don't see any problems in them at all.
Well, it's a good thing in a way, but at the same time I think there should be places for them. Like what about, you know, Salvation Army and stuff like that? I don't really agree and I don't agree.
Certainly the pods, as I think they're called, have focused people in on homelessness, and I suppose anything that allows a debate with regard to homelessness and brings the wider society's attention towards it must be a good thing. However, I think these pods, although well-meaning, are in fact going down an opposite way to which the Housing Executive under Homeless Strategy would want to go with regard to combating street homelessness. Now, our aim really is to remove rough sleeping. It's in our homeless strategy as a key aim by 2020 throughout Northern Ireland. We have a Belfast rough sleeper strategy. We fund voluntary organisations during the day and at night to go round the streets and find those people that are sleeping rough and bring them to a place of safety where they get properly assessed and they get proper medical, social and housing care, and then plan a permanent housing solution for them. So these pods, they might well be dangerous in so much as they will actually keep people on the streets, where our whole approach, and the approach of the sector in general, is to move them from the streets into a place of safety. But I do think the people that designed them and left them there probably were very well-meaning in what they're doing. And if those people would like to come forward and speak with us, at the minute we're not quite sure who these people are, we'd be only too willing to do so.
Obviously, I work for the Salvation Army, but my role is to support families. We see very, very young children. I mean, children who are just born, just discharged out of hospital, and they already have the label of homelessness by virtue of the fact that their mother or father, their parents are homeless. How do we prevent that is such a great problem. But there are lots of organisations that exist in Belfast that are working very, very hard to try and eradicate the problem of homelessness.
Today we're having a seminar solely devoted to the issue of fathers, and the importance of this seminar is because we believe that children need to have the involvement of fathers in their lives, but too often that doesn't happen. And when we're looking at what's happening with family life and the breakdown of that, then we need to reinforce it in people's minds that fathers, whether they are living with the child's mother or not, need to be involved in the child's lives.
I think it's really, first of all, in terms of the issues with fathers, it's the accessing of services. Primarily from the antenatal stage onwards, services are directed towards the mother. So what we're really trying to work for and lobby for, that there's an equal status in terms of the engagement at the earliest possible stage with fathers in their children's lives. So how can we collectively come together in terms of for the benefit of children to involve their fathers in the earliest possible point in their lives?
The evidence is almost overwhelming that if you involve men in research on the family, on practice with families, you get a much better result. We know that men are just as important as women in bringing up children and in their influence on children's development. So if you want to work to protect children and to make their education and their personal development as satisfactory as possible, you have to work with both their parents and not just their mothers.
I think probably the two main policy issues that I would be most concerned with, I think, is one, maybe the attitude through the courts when things do go wrong. How are we trying to give daddies equal status and rights, and not an automatic position where mother is automatically seen as the main caregiver? And another sort of the second policy change that I think could make a significant difference is around the paternity leave. You know, we work on a 2-week window here in Northern Ireland for paternity leave, but we know from a lot of the Scandinavian countries where fathers get much greater entitlements to paternity leave when their child is born, how much more of a bigger impact that can make on their family life, and creating daddy as that equal role to mother within the house.
There's much more equality needed for fathers and mothers when it comes to support services. At the moment, the approaches to fathers depends very much on an ad hoc basis as to whether services do have an inclusive approach to including fathers. So there are supports for fathers, but it's limited and it's geographically variable.
Sort of traditional attitudes and stereotypes would put the male into the kind of provider, if you will, where he would go out and work, whereas the mother would sort of care for the children. And I think it's breaking down that barrier, as we've seen today, and as the speakers have talked about, the importance of fathers in a child's life, not only in providing for the family but in caring for the children, showing love and affection towards the children and the benefits that has long term on the children. So I think it's hard in terms of when you're looking into a family, you know, dads can be overlooked, yes, because they contribute so much to a family unit, as does the mother, don't get me wrong, and as we found out today, you know, it's in ideal circumstances the child would be involved in with both parents, and both parents would be involved in that child's life.
Fathers have been influenced by legislation in the sense that parental leave has now been shown, I quoted today a study of 29,000 households in which if the father takes parental leave, he's much more likely to be involved in both childcare and housework when the child is 3. So the legislation has had an effect upon fathers across the board.
With regards to policy changes, I'd like to see maybe be around parental responsibility. At the minute it was discussed today that mothers automatically have parental responsibility in Northern Ireland, whereas fathers, unless their name's on the birth certificate, they do not have parental responsibility. So I think that would be a huge thing, because regards to maybe equality in that case, there's maybe some issues to look at when it comes to sort of court issues and different things like that. It's hard for me to say because each individual case is different. In general, the consensus seems to be that it would favour the mother more, but I think that's changing because I know in cases that I've worked with and fathers that I've worked with, there's more sole father carers, haven't been through court, haven't went through that, and the fathers have been given residency. So maybe things are changing in the right direction, and I think with regards to policy, if we can get that sort of push towards the parental responsibility being equal and being shared with regards to whether the father's name's on the birth certificate or not, it would be a good step in, as long as obviously the children weren't put in harm's way.
Fathers account for 50% of parents, so therefore policy should now reflect that. So in the short term, I think the attitudinal change is what we need, and the longer term, I think the policy change to support fathers, whether they be around paternity leave is a good example of that. How do we start changing that to support fathers?
So it all comes down to the best interests of the child at the end of the day.
Ládón de radio is rud tá tosithe ag UNESCO. Thocra sé ceithre bliain ó hen inis go gcuireadh sé tús le lá leis an tábhacht le radio a haspans. An bhliain seo, dá bhíolas a cúig siad réimní siad mar heama daoine óga agus an radio, agus tá siad san na géirí go mbeadh daoine óg ghlacha isteach sa radio, go dtigi siad san an tábhacht, go dtigi siad san go bhfuil ardan an seo fan na Conne, go dtigi siad go bhfuil aitzin sin gur féidir le na scileanna a aimsú, go bhfuil aitzin sin gur féidir le a céad barolacha a chur chun tosaigh. So sin an fá gur thugmuid curú an seo a radio fáilte nniu. Den na scolanna ar fad in má firstin tá muid gurí an sé ó seachta bhliain teachtasteach. Agus siúlthart an radio góisteach dean get ba craolú, Lord leis na craoltarí dé bio ar an radio. Agus just fecal go dé mar a hen rudí ar ai, agus má tá sim acu tarasteach agus sesiún trénal dhéanamh.
Chasta wing kind of lách an spáns gona daltaí scala go bhfuilmuid an seo agus ní díadach sean daoine a bhíons ar an air nó daoine ní sinne nar tatú séideag tá chalóna sean ach So has to wing the chuirteteach is spánsrób gur féidir loíana tá sé soch éasca rób agus iad ag duna tafad le phones agus iPads agus ruí mar sin ní hógann se a bhád orthú dul ghlacht ar an trealamh atá angan se agus tasí mhain níos mú acu a haingsisteach sa radio. Ach an rud faoi an lá se ná is ceileire atá an seo.
Tosaíon rudí ar déthe chlog be crílaí beá an óna dé bailcha le frídtí cethir críaltaí óga is tí ghlacha sealah ar an radio be siad ag crílaí mó mór rudí difriúla be ceardlainn ar siúil ceanna an rudí is táhachtaí bheits atálainn ní mé mó mór ceardlainn sa stúdio beá stúdio ra hafada ag gur gréthe difriúil de jazz na fuama pléile level lethe fásta be ceardlainn ó híomh agarthachta de tíomh beidir an anna daoine dearmada ó híomh an radio de ceardlainn an le ó híomh crílaí seachdraachta an ceanneal a rééis seile ag chur kit le chéile chur an taobh techno le chéile. Muid chéan radio na Gaeltachta, radio na lefa agus Near FM go mé muid ag cócrílaí agus le chéile má chuirt sa chlár Ronan Beasú a bé déilní churann agus Ronan Macíhí a chur an chlár le chéile a chur an chlár a láthair agus bei sin olhúir be gach daine stíon seo be sé go amach mar héan fod na hhéan agus níos faide géan agus is rud stáil duine a bheith loníthe seo agus muidirna hána bhain cinil ag beidir ag buint grim as cool ar Jerry chóta duine gan ach muid a láirníí radio fáilte a láirníí ar an lá agus be siar dóid tá silgadí.
Tá stáisiún pobl cos le radioáilte an táhachtach an seo go hádaithe is cinál is munlach atá I bobbal na Gaeilge in áréide agus tugann se áisroing chun durmaí a nachta agus na barúlachaí atá ag muintear phobal na Gaeilge a chur cín agus tá sam nachhfuil mud achacréile a ggur pobl iarthar bheith feriste dar le afcam agus rudí mar sin ach maiálar an Idirlín. Thomas in is agréile go daoine ar fud na Cruinne if mud literachaí bhaid an Inland agus America agus bíon daoine ag seola riamhfosnaí hagan. So bíon daoine ag éisteacht.
Nuair dhearmid stáisiún pobl tá cadnas ar an lei ag stáisiún pobl agus an róla agin ná ardan na thuirt de pobl in san cá seo an phobal Gaeilge má firste. No, éad siad bhfuil samachú sa Gaeilge, éad siad bhfuil samachú sa cultar. Agus tréanala thuirte gine so famis déanaisteach déanaim is cursaí tréanala go réalta agus nuair an cursa tréanala críicne agad thucail le teachtasteach má éiríonn leat agus seo a dhéanamh seo ar radio fáilte. Agus sin mar obrinte an céidir mód in na seo na chréalaid tá sé deanta ag creaúirí Jonacha.
Rud bhnacha has mar rá faoi radio fáilte ná mar táneart daoine óga darlein UNESCO óg sin faoi tríocha so sinna was rá tá neart daoine óga a bhíon san seo a duine seo a fe bliana beidir nó séhí agus iad a freistal ar an ollscoil an seo bíon daltaí choiste ferste agus na scalaí eile tá thart isteachas amachchas an áit.
Scíal sogam sa le radio fáilte bhí mé ar choiste first mar galta snar bhí radio fáilte loníthe sa Chultarland. Hosí mé Johnny Clár seachtainúil cinneal ceáil alternach bhí mestí go Jonach. Hosí mé sin riimi sin seachnail fear tríú ceir bliana bfu mé an soltas. Thu mé na hoscoile het mé maithas rudaí bhí mé Johnny rudí eile ach sin tháinig post chuintúir cruilehain a níos gair déag le radio fáilte post part-timtre a tháinig sin níos thu mé fanniuir bhí an tair an go mé post agus so sin dóid go danig mé dethir radio fáilte agus mé an cinneal neis go part-timtre ach fan an soltas an soltas ar fád.
Agus tá sé ionintach táhachtach an seo in áit cos le bell felliste go bhfuil stáisiún pobl is cum céantanga ina bhfuil siad ach tugann sé deis go daoine nach bhfuil deis acu a gúnaí le stáisiún pobl tá tú ná de chum hain a riint agus tugann sé ádan go grúpaí nach bhfuil ádan acu in áitcha eile.
Is dóigh ag deireadh an lei stáisiún radio bíon kidhhaid crack ceol play, dismarachtaí, barolacha, crackle le go ra. Rudí a henamach ar an sráid sin is féidir le clint is tí a stáisiún héan.
DSD have proposed to cut the services in the Upper Springfield area by approximately 40%. That would actually translate into 100% of their funding towards the arts programme that I'm involved in running. It would have such a devastating effect in terms of mental health and well-being, in terms of disability, in terms of a wide range of issues that people are facing, the most vulnerable people in our society, older people, younger people, all age groups. Sometimes these projects they're the only social outlet that some people will have.
The services that they're talking about cutting are the Good Morning Line in Ardmona Centre, counselling services both in Holy Trinity and in Corpus Christi. There's cuts in the Upper Springfield Development Trust itself, the Spring Hill, ourselves, Voices Women's Group, and the Centre for Health and Wellbeing. So it's really identifying like alternative therapies, counselling services that sort of support people in the area, and I think the ethos behind it is that they don't really see it as a valuable service. They don't see it as part of a health service or see the long-term impact that it would have when these services are either reduced or withdrawn.
I'm in the Voices Women, and I ran the handicap club for 30 years, and then when I took sick, I had to leave it. And you see, if that was closed down, that would be the death of me, that club, because it's my lifestyle there. It would just break my heart if anything happened there, and it's the only place I can go now.
Without this service, I would be lost, because I went through a lot in my life, whatever, and I just feel if these services was to go, I would know what to do.
Our arts and older people's programmes, they would directly address isolation and loneliness and very, very hard-hitting issues that older people are facing. And sometimes our art programme would provide a creative platform for people to address issues that are so close to their heart that they can't necessarily just talk about in words, and they explore these issues through art. So many groups, approximately 300 people per year will lose out in the art services alone. Now that's just the art services. Just such a devastating effect. I've been speaking to the groups that we engage, and people are they're shocked. They want to be doing something.
I don't think there's been any long-term insight into what the problems will occur if these services are reduced or withdrawn, because it is going to put a strain on acute services and clinical services, because there's a lot of people in the area and they're still experiencing 40 years of conflict, the trauma that was related to that. So people have experienced trauma at an individual level, but at a collective level as well. And there's a whole intergenerational problems that have come with that as well. And that's been identified through the high risk of suicide and young ones taking their lives through suicide, the mental health problems that there are in the area. And if those other services aren't there, like alternative therapies for people to be able to discharge some of the symptoms that are associated with trauma, then they're going to present themselves in acute services later on.
There's just, you know, a loving and a closeness and like a family kind of, you know, feeling, and it is. See if anything really happens here, I don't know what's going to happen, because we'll all be lost. And there's a lot of old people like myself, you know what I mean? And that's how I got into at first, like. And I don't know what's going to happen if this here goes off, because it would be heartbreaking, especially for all them old people that hasn't got anybody in the house for them. They'll just be sitting looking out through the window, you know, and it's really so sad. I can't understand the meaning of all this and how it's happened, you know.
Well, I hope that they'll take on board what's coming from the community and recognise the long-term implications that it's going to have for people, and that there's already a big strain in the health service at the moment. It's going to be a bigger strain if people start presenting themselves at mental health services. And within our group we would take referrals from the counselling services, the Good Morning Line, family support, and the local mental health teams as well. So it's not just our group, it's all the groups. You know, all the groups within the area work very closely in partnership with each other, and they all lend support to each other. So it's the support that we all give each other outside of the remit within our own groups.
Well, I just hope that after all these interviews and the community working together collectively, that our voice be heard, and the DSD realise how important the services are, and whatever power they have, that they can work together with us in order to keep these services going, to keep our community safer from suicide.
When it's down in black and white and it's figures, you know, they don't see people behind it, but I think when people come out, service users come out and they speak about the impact that it's going to have in their lives, their families' lives and the wider community, I hope that they'll sit up and take heed.
And now, tomorrow's weather.